Picture this. The sun rises over the rolling hills of Gaul, painting the world in shades of gold and crimson. Birds take flight, unaware of the shadow looming over the horizon. For miles, the earth trembles under the march of warriors, hundreds of thousands, a veritable sea of humanity moving as one, their war cries blending into a thunder that rattles the bones of even the bravest hearts. These are not ordinary soldiers. They are the Cimbri and Teutones, tribes of northern Europe, hardened by the frozen forests and icy rivers of their homeland. They have come to Rome not as travelers, not as merchants, but as conquerors, and they carry with them a single terrifying certainty: they will not be denied. Rome, a republic built on discipline, law, and the unyielding strength of its legions, suddenly feels the creeping dread of vulnerability. For decades, whispers of the northern tribes have traveled across the Alps, tales of warriors who strike like storms, who descend upon villages with overwhelming force. Rome has faced enemies before: barbarians, kings, ambitious generals, but nothing like this. These are not small raiding bands. These are 1,000,000 warriors, stretching across the horizon, each man a piece of an unstoppable machine. They are vast, unrelenting, and they hunger for conquest. And yet, numbers alone do not tell the full story. Each of these warriors carries the stories of their people. The suffering of winter survived, the battles won against rival tribes, the endless march toward a destiny that seems larger than life itself. Their eyes burn with an unspoken promise to claim glory and take what Rome has taken from others. Oh, in the villages they pass, families lock doors, priests pray in trembling voices, and farmers drop their tools, staring in disbelief at the endless tide of humanity advancing with purpose and fury. In the heart of Rome, senators pace nervously in marble halls, their debates now tinged with fear. They know that if these northern tribes reach their gates, the city itself could fall. Yet fear, as it often does, breeds strategy as much as it does panic. Reports reach the capital of villages burned, entire cohorts of Roman allies wiped out, and the northern warriors pressing steadily forward. Rome's elders speak in hushed tones of the unimaginable scale of this threat, 1,000,000 warriors moving with terrifying coordination. Amid this turmoil, stories emerge of the sheer brutality and size of the Cimbri and Teutones. They are not merely an army, they are a force of nature. Giants of men, their armor battered yet gleaming, shields raised like walls, axes glinting in the sunlight, their war cries shaking the air as if the world itself will split in two. They ride in chariots and march with horses trained to fear nothing. And behind them, countless families follow, carrying the spoils of villages they have conquered along the way. Every step they take is a statement: Rome is next. And yet, for all their size, for all their overwhelming force, there is a rhythm to this march, a confidence born of numbers, but not strategy. They believe in their might, in the inevitability of their victory, unaware that Rome's true strength is forged not in sheer numbers, but in discipline, planning, and the unbreakable will of its generals and soldiers. The northern horde approaches, a tidal wave of flesh and steel, yet destiny waits silently on the plains of Vercellae, where history is poised to turn on a knife's edge. The air itself seems to hold its breath. Rome, the eternal city, faces the unimaginable. 1,000,000 warriors stretch as far as the eye can see, their shadows blotting out hope, their drums beating the rhythm of fear. And in that moment, a question hangs over the Republic. Can one disciplined army, forged in law, sweat, and iron, truly stand against the unstoppable? Amid the rising tide of fear and uncertainty, Rome needed more than courage. It needed a mind capable of turning chaos into triumph. Enter Gaius Marius, a man whose name would echo through history not merely as a general, but as a master of strategy and innovation. He was not born of noble lineage, nor did he command the luxury of overwhelming numbers. What he possessed was something far rarer: vision, and in that vision Rome saw its only chance to survive. Marius surveyed the Republic with eyes that missed nothing. He saw not just an army of millions approaching, but the flaws inherent in their mass. They were enormous, yes, unstoppable perhaps in sheer size, but their strength lay in numbers, not in discipline. Their formations were unwieldy, their coordination limited, and that, he knew, was a weakness Rome could exploit. Where the northern horde relied on the chaos of quantity, Marius relied on the order of quality. He restructured the legions, turning farmers, laborers, and citizens into a cohesive machine in steel. Training was relentless. Every footfall, every swing of a gladius, every formation was drilled until instinct became weapon. Roman discipline was no longer a tradition. It was a finely tuned engine, capable of moving as one, striking as one, and enduring as one. And Marius did something even more revolutionary. He opened the ranks to men who had no land, no wealth, no noble blood. Rome itself became a crucible, forging ordinary citizens into extraordinary soldiers. But strategy is more than preparation. It is anticipation. Marius did not wait for the Cimbri and Teutones to dictate the battlefield. He studied their movements, their patterns, their arrogance. He understood that in battle, confidence can be a double-edged sword. 1,000,000 warriors might intimidate the untrained eye, but overconfidence could fracture even the strongest of tides. He knew that timing, terrain, and maneuvering could turn their vastness against them. And so he chose the plains of Vercellae, a location that would amplify the strengths of disciplined soldiers while exposing the vulnerabilities of the massive northern army. Rome's citizens, once gripped by fear, now dared to hope. Stories of Marius' reforms spread quickly, that a small, well-trained legion could face the impossible, that Roman ingenuity and determination could outmatch the sheer force of millions. The stage was set, tension crackling in the air like lightning across a stormy sky. Rome itself seemed to hold its breath. Marius, ever meticulous, ensured that his soldiers understood their role in the coming drama. They were to stand firm, to move as one, to strike with precision, and to endure whatever chaos the northern tide threw at them. Each man carried not just a sword, but the weight of the Republic's survival on his shoulders. In his calm, commanding presence, fear found no purchase. Confidence spread like fire through the ranks. Where the enemy relied on intimidation, the Romans relied on discipline. Where the enemy sought to crush with numbers, the Romans would cut with strategy. And so as the northern horde approached, the contrast could not have been starker. Millions of warriors, enormous, confident, almost unstoppable, facing tens of thousands of Romans, ordinary men transformed into a disciplined engine of war. It was a battle of philosophy as much as arms, of chaos versus order, of instinct versus intellect. The tension was palpable, the moment heavy with history. Every eye on both sides would soon witness what happens when preparation meets opportunity, and when one man's vision challenges the might of 1,000,000. Vercellae would not merely be a battlefield. It would be the crucible where Rome's ingenuity would face the fury of the north, and the outcome would shock the world. The morning of battle dawned with a heavy, ominous sky, as if even the heavens were aware that history was about to be written. On the plains of Vercellae, two forces faced each other, starkly different yet equally determined. On one side, 1,000,000 northern warriors, a sea of shields and spears stretching beyond the eye's reach, their war cries tearing through the air like storms. On the other, the disciplined legions of Rome, tens of thousands of soldiers, yet each man a living testament to Gaius Marius' vision, trained, hardened, and resolute. The ground itself seemed to tremble under the weight of expectation. Then, with a roar that shook the plains, the Cimbri surged forward, a tidal wave of brute strength and ferocity. But Rome did not falter. The legions held their lines, each cohort moving as one organism, shields interlocked, swords ready, disciplined breath measured against the chaos rushing toward them. It was the moment where preparation met fate, and the world held its breath. As the clash erupted, it became immediately clear that this was no ordinary battle. The northern horde, for all its vastness, struggled to maintain cohesion. Their sheer numbers became a liability, turning their advance into a chaotic crush. The Romans, in contrast, flowed like water, striking precisely, exploiting gaps, their formations bending but never breaking. Spear met shield, sword met armor, and the ground ran heavy with the echoes of combat. Yet, amidst the fury, Marius' plan unfolded like clockwork. He had waited for the perfect moment, the point where the enemy's momentum, overconfidence, and disorder became their own undoing. Then, with a swift, decisive maneuver, he struck. Roman flanks, long thought incapable of containing such a massive force, moved with deadly precision. The Cimbri and Teutones, caught off guard, found themselves surrounded, their endless tide now a trapped, suffocating mass. Panic spread like wildfire. Where once there was confidence, now there was fear. Where once there was chaos, now there was the calculated hand of Rome. The battle raged through the day, but Rome's discipline held. One by one, the northern warriors fell, their numbers enormous yet meaningless against the unyielding structure and strategy of the legion. History itself seemed to pause as the outcome became inevitable. The mighty horde, once thought unstoppable, was crushed under the weight of Roman ingenuity. Victory did not come with ease, but it came with certainty. When the dust settled, the plains of Vercellae were silent save for the groans of the fallen and the wind sweeping across a battlefield transformed. The shock waves of Rome's triumph would echo far beyond the Alps. The million-strong horde had been defeated, not by numbers, but by discipline. Not by brute force, but by strategy. The legions, tired but unbroken, stood victorious, and Gaius Marius, once doubted by those who feared a smaller army could ever face such an overwhelming force, had cemented his place in history. Rome had survived, and in doing so had sent a message to the world. No matter how immense the threat, the Republic's strength lay not in numbers alone, but in courage, preparation, and the unshakable will of its people. The Battle of Vercellae was more than a clash of armies. It was a testament to the idea that order can overcome chaos, and that vision, when matched with discipline, can defeat even the mightiest of tides. And so the story of that shocking battle endures, a reminder that sometimes history is made not by the strongest or the largest, but by those who dare to think differently, fight differently, and believe that victory is possible even against a million warriors.